Joe Biden is incredibly unpopular and the dam is breaking. When Joe Biden was inaugurated, I was very pessimistic. I was like, there's no way there's going to be a primary. There's no way Kamala Harris is going to be the front runner in 2028. So we're going to have to beat her. The Khive is going to be huge. And you know what? I was too pessimistic. They're that unpopular. They're that unpopular, chat, that we can very quickly possibly dispense with them. Who would be Kamala's Veep? I mean, you know who it would be. Pete Buttigieg. He's from the Midwest. He's gay. They think that Pete Buttigieg would really get a lot of white men. They'd be like, Pete Buttigieg, the white men whisperer. And he would be like, what white men really need is tax breaks on their flights to Oxford. And they'd be like, McKinsey consultants should not have to pay taxes. And they would finish with the least amount of votes that any major candidate has had since, I don't know, who would even be that unpopular? Did you see what's going on in Belfast?
Oh shit! Oh, he threw a bin at them! Oh fuck! Oh fuck! Oh, he's away in the house! Oh Jesus Christ! Oh Jesus Christ! Oh Jesus Christ! Oh! Oh! Oh my god! They just smashed the fucking window! Oh my god! 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 Oh my!
So if you don't know what this means, chat, basically these guys are unionists. These are right-wingers who are anti-Catholic and pro UK.
God.
And that other guy had an Irish flag at his window because he believes in Irish republicanism. He threw a bin at them because they were parading down his street to taunt Irish people and Catholics. The 12th, also called Glorious 12th or Orangeman's Day, is an Ulster Protestant celebration held on the 12th of July. It celebrates the glorious revolution and victory of Protestant King William of Orange over Catholic King James II at the Battle of the Boyne, which ensured a Protestant ascendancy in Ireland. These are Orangemen. Anyway, we'll finish this. We started watching this and I went down some rabbit holes. See, again, this is what concerns me about liberals. They don't understand the mentality of a Republican. This is funny because, well, the Klan is a far-right organization of racial hatred and religious hatred, who are deeply conservative, who wanted to enforce a racial caste system and hierarchy on the South. They were a reaction to the defeat of the Confederacy and the Civil War. They were an illegal guerrilla movement dedicated to keeping black people from achieving political and civic equality. All right? But they were part of the Democratic Party. This is a fact. And a Republican doesn't need to care that there was a party switch, that after the civil rights movement, the Dixiecrats died out and that they moved en masse to the Republican Party. That the Republican Party changed from a northeastern-based liberal party to a ideologically conservative party that started with Goldwater, who eagerly, and Nixon, and eagerly gathered in the racial hatred of the South and integrated them smoothly into a new ideologically conservative right-wing Republican Party. The Republican Party of 1950 or 1880 is gone and dead and buried. It's a neo-Confederate, ideologically conservative party that gathered in racist, evangelical Christians, former segregationists, and anti-left politicians into its bosom. That's what the Republican Party is. Abraham Lincoln was admired by Karl Marx. No Republican is admired by a leftist now. This is all obvious to anybody with a brain. But to a Republican, it isn't. When did the left join the Democrats? Basically with Teddy Roosevelt split off progressives from the Republican Party because there was a tension between progressives and the basically pro-capitalists of Taft. And there was a coalition that basically happened between socially conservative, more economically left Dixiecrat in the South, kind of what racial populists, and then with some of the stuff that Wilson did, but basically it was FDR. It was FDR. The progressives started to gather within and leftists started to gather either outside the Democratic Party totally in the Socialist Party under Eugene Debs, and then you had progressives especially concentrated in New York. And we've watched a thing about New York and the Triangle Shirtwaist fire, and progressives like Al Smith being influenced by progressives and leftists in New York, and then FDR, who was governor of New York, kind of led the Democratic Party in coalition with the left and won a massive victory, in response to the Great Depression. That's kind of when the left was way more integrated in the Democratic Party, and it was a coalition with the racist segregationists in the South, but they would still vote for some redistributivist policies for their poor whites, right? And they oftentimes would vote against stuff as well. In Virginia, you had these kind of like pro-business, anti-left Democrats, whereas in like Pennsylvania and New York, the Northeast, you had these like more, organized labor coalition with the left shit. If that makes sense. That's the kind of like the historical progression. There's a really fun video which we've watched a couple times, which kind of explains what I'm talking about. We watched it this year by extra credits.
March 25th, 1911. The 9th floor.
This is something that I would, obviously the audio,
I don't know why people change their voice with weird changes. Don't ask me. But the content of the video is really interesting.
I mean, it's 10 minutes. We can watch it. Let's just watch it because you asked me a question that's very useful. So might as well just watch this again. Fuck it. It's 10 minutes. What else are we doing?
March 25th, 1911. The 9th floor of the Ash Building. The workers of the Triangle Shirtwaist Company are preparing to leave. They have worked a long week, 52 hours, making the blouses that have come to symbolize practical, independent womanhood. As they collect their hats and their coats, they chat about Sunday plans. They are almost all women, mostly Jews who fled Tsarist atrocities and environmental refugees from Italy. Here in America, they found opportunities they'd never known. In 30 minutes, 146 of them will be dead. It begins with a spark. On the 8th floor, someone tosses a cigarette in a bin filled with cloth scraps and tissue paper patterns. By the time men get the fire buckets, flames are licking the rows of shirtwaists hanging overhead. Twists of ash fall into scrap bins and land on the oil-soaked floor. Frantic, people pile into the rickety fire escape. Others run to the Washington Street staircase, but it's locked. Management likes to force employees to leave via the Green Street stairs so they can search workers for stolen cloth. A floor manager shoves the women aside and opens the door, saving them, but the fire is close behind. Flames are spreading, sucking up the building stairwells. A telephone operator warns the executives on the 10th floor. The factory owners evacuate to the roof, barely escaping. But no one warns the 9th floor. There, workers discover the danger when flames begin to lick the windows. Everything happens too fast. Flames block the Green Street stairs. Workers pile onto the fire escape, but it collapses, spilling 20 people down an air shaft. Trapped girls tear at the locked Washington Street door. Their clothes and hair begin to catch. Flames press them toward the walls and windows. Heroic elevator operators make as many trips as they can, but the heat warps their rails and the cars stall. Desperate women jump down the shaft, trying to slide down the cables. On the street, hundreds of onlookers gather to watch the fire. Above, they can see workers gathering at the windows and on the ledges. The fire department arrives, but their tallest ladder only reaches the 6th floor. The girls begin to jump, landing hard on the street or impaling themselves on a pointed fence. One young man at the window helps girls up onto the sill one after another, as if lifting them onto a streetcar. When the final girl comes, they share one last kiss before they jump. On the other side of the building, the huddle of bodies pushing away from the flames finally bursts the windows. 33 people, some already burning, fall to the pavement. It was over. When police count the bodies, they find 146 people dead on the street or charred on the factory floor. Most of them are women in their teens or early 20s. The youngest is 14. Among the crowd watching is Frances Perkins of the Consumers League. Perkins is part of a new generation of progressive activists, college-trained social scientists who seek change through studying problems, marshaling data, and writing reports. For the last 4 months, she's been studying a factory fire in Newark that killed 25 workers. Her conclusion, that American factories need evacuation plans, adequate fire escapes, and sprinkler systems, have just played out before her eyes. At that moment, she swore this would never happen again. And she wasn't the only one. Public outcry followed the fire because these were no ordinary workers. The previous year, they had staged a major strike, seeking shorter hours, better pay, and the ability to form unions. The factory bosses, led by Triangle owners Max Blank and Isaac Harris, had hired gangsters and prostitutes to assault them on the picket line. At one point, gangsters had ambushed the strike's leader, Clara Limlick, and broke 6 of her ribs. The garment workers had become heroes, with newspapers dubbing their movement the Uprising of the 20,000. They won shorter hours and higher wages, but now those same girls were lying dead on the street, waiting for relatives to identify their scorched remains. The public howled for justice. When the garment union staged a funeral...
This is absolutely the America libertarians want. 100,000%. This is what they want to go back to. They think that fire escapes and sprinkler systems and all that shit is tyranny. Hey, you don't want to be in a risky factory? Then don't work there. If you decide to take the risk, you decide to take the risk. That's what they think.
March through New York City, 120,000 people showed up to the march, and another 300,000 watched. But Blank and Harris were acquitted of manslaughter. They paid out a pittance in a civil suit and got a windfall in insurance money. The unions decided to take matters into their own hands. They demanded an independent committee focused on safety reforms and prepared to take on an insurmountable opponent, Tammany Hall. Tammany, New York's political machine. But Tammany wasn't much interested in policies and reforms. Instead, Tammany existed to make money through corruption. Its head, Boss Murphy, controlled city and state politics. Tammany politicians were pro-business and sworn enemies of unions and reformers like Perkins. During the garment strike, they had sided with the owners. It was Tammany cops that harassed workers on the picket line, and Tammany gangsters that broke Clara Limlick's ribs. Most activists thought that this was a fight that couldn't be won. Tammany, they said, only listens to money. But Perkins wasn't so sure. Years before, she had championed a bill limiting women and minors to a 54-hour workweek, and she had received support from Al Smith, a rising Tammany star. He had killed the bill when Boss Murphy told him to, of course, but she suspected that Smith could be convinced, and he was now the head of the state assembly. But when Perkins pushed for a factory investigation committee, Smith shot it down. The legislature wouldn't listen to an outside commission. However, he added, a hybrid body made up of legislators and with the political support of Tammany, that could get results. The reformers agreed, reluctantly, expecting Smith to defang the body. But things were changing at Tammany. Boss Murphy had quietly been pushing for reform. He had watched New York progressives make gains, catapulting Theodore Roosevelt to the White House. He saw the explosion of enthusiasm during the garment workers' strike, and Tammany was getting killed in state elections. Their old base of Irish immigrants was moving out of Tammany districts, replaced by Jewish and Italian voters who they had a hard time connecting with. Murphy slowly replaced the old guard with men like Smith, men who wanted to do more than just give out coal in the winter or a bit of money in hard times. Men who wanted legislation that would actually improve their constituents' lives. As it happened, many of the Triangle victims lived in Tammany districts, and they were exactly the groups Murphy had struggled to reach. He ordered Smith to take a stand on Triangle. From now on, Tammany would be the party of workers. The Factory Commission proved anything but toothless. They built an investigation and legal team from a who's who of progressive activists. The socialist firebrand, Clara Limlick, the head of the Shirtwaist strike, came aboard as an investigator. The head of the Women's Trade Union League joined as one of the expert commissioners. Frances Perkins helped recruit, train, and supervise investigators. The results came fast. In the first 6 months, the commission collected 3,500 pages of testimony from 222 witnesses. Its 10 investigators fanned out, inspecting 2,000 factories in 9 cities. What the legislators saw shocked them. Triangle was not an anomaly. In one factory, the passage to the fire escape was no bigger than a hatch. Perkins forced the head of the state senate to crawl through it. They raided a cannery where children were forced to work until they passed out from exhaustion. In one shop, a factory owner tried to hide his child laborers by packing them into an elevator and then stopping it between floors. By the end of 1911, commission legislators drafted 15 new bills covering fire safety, factory conditions, and employment rules for women and children. 8 of those bills became law. Automatic sprinklers, fire drills, and fireproof stairwells were now mandatory in high-rises. All exit doors had to stay unlocked. It addressed every hazard at Triangle. Yet the appetite for reform kept growing. When Perkins made a new push for her 50-hour workweek bill, Boss Murphy tried to kill it with an unexpected late-night vote, but Tammany legislators revolted, stalling until a key legislator could sprint all the way back to the Capitol and cast the winning ballot. The winds were shifting. Reluctantly, Boss Murphy adopted the progressive agenda of the Factory Commission. The result was a landslide in the 1913 elections. One after another, commission bills passed. The commission dissolved in 1915, with 36 of its bills enshrined in law. In addition to fire safety, they protected child workers, created a Department of Labor, mandated that employers provide restrooms, and founded a workmen's compensation system for those injured on the job. Within 4 years of the fire, New York had the strongest labor laws in the nation. This political earthquake remade American politics and propelled Smith to the governor's mansion. More importantly, it laid the groundwork for a new form of liberal politics that another New York Democrat, Franklin Roosevelt, would carry into the White House. And that's not all he carried with him. Key Factory Commission members became FDR's allies in the Senate, and Frances Perkins joined the administration as his Secretary of Labor, making her the first woman to serve in the cabinet. Former commission members helped craft the New Deal, much of which was just a federal version of the laws they'd passed in the wake of the Triangle Fire. The lives lost, indeed, had not been in vain. Even though the Triangle Fire happened over a century ago, the laws it created are still with us, and they have saved thousands of lives. In fact, apart from the September 11th attacks, to this day, America has never had a workplace disaster as deadly as Triangle.
This is what Obama did not do. You know, we had that opportunity for massive change in this country, you know, like had happened after the Triangle Shirtwaist, and they did fucking nothing. Can you imagine Joe Biden appointing one of the most left-wing progressive people in the country to the Secretary of Labor? We got corporate ghoul Pete Buttigieg as transportation secretary. McKinsey consultant. You mean activists out of step with the mainstream party?
So when you're faced with a horrible social problem, one that people say can't be solved because of apathy or powerful interests, remember the Triangle and get to work.
But again, not happen. This is called the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire video if you want to see that. Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap.